start here. The tremendous impact of the Joburg explosion has led to the shutdown of one of the city's busiest streets. Lillian Ngoyi, formerly known as Bree Street, will remain closed indefinitely. The explosion tore open roads, flipped vehicles, causing massive damage. Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi held a media briefing earlier, but there's still plenty of action even 24 hours since this blast. Heidi Giokos has been following the story pretty much since it broke, and she joins us now. So, Heidi, I wonder if you could start by just telling us what is happening at the site of the blast right now.
Yes, Sally, I must say 24 hours later, and I would say that there's still a lot of uncertainty as to what truly happened yesterday at around 5 o'clock. Currently, there is, of course, still high police presence. Firefighters are still on scene, so all officials seem to be present here in Bree Street. I'm going to ask my colleague Tebogo to just show you. It seems as though one manhole has been opened up. That this manhole was not actually opened up, when this initially did happen. I'm not exactly sure what they decided to open up this particular manhole, but it seems as though they're obviously trying to get through something. We do know that the water and electricity has been switched off in the area. We don't know when it's going to be restored. We do know that there's barbed wire that is going to be set up here on Bree Street, so mostly around where the infrastructure has been severely damaged. So it's going to be critical for authorities to ensure that people do not use this road, stay clear of this road, as we still do not know what happened, but also because we don't know how sound and reliable the infrastructure is around this particular area, Sally.
Yes. Let's just take a listen to what the Premier had to say a little earlier today, because of course we know that one person has been confirmed to have died.
The number of fatalities still remain at one. It's only one person. We have taken the fingerprints of the said individual. They are being assessed and analyzed, and the family members will then be notified. So we've got the fingerprints and are using our electronic system to track the family of the deceased. Thus far, unless otherwise, we have not received anyone reporting somebody missing. Sorry, I had opportunity to visit the hospital today, and I met 4 of those that are still in hospital at Charlotte Maxeke. There were 2 that were in critical conditions, and our report still confirms that those 2 are still in a critical condition. Since our engagement this morning, you will recall during our engagement we indicated that we've got 12 that were still in hospital. The number is down to 8, those that are still in hospital. And the figure is still 48 as reported, the overall people that were injured.
And you know, Heidi, earlier the Premier also spoke about manholes, saying words to the effect of that the explosion came through 3 manholes and they're still investigating it. The truth is, Heidi, we don't know exactly the cause of this massive explosion. But could you tell us what the Premier was referring to, particularly given you've just told us that a manhole has been opened right now?
Yes, Sally, I'm going to be honest, and the unfortunate part is, viewers are relying on us on the ground to explain to them what officials are indicating as to what happened here. But it's very confusing, and it's really all up in the air when it comes to what actually happened here last night. We do understand that Egoli Gas, Sasol, Eskom, for example, Joburg Water, the sewage line was also inspected. So all stakeholders were really called in today to assess what was really going on and if any of these entities were responsible for what happened. Egoli Gas and Sasol have said this is not our pipeline that's caused this explosion. There might have been a small gas leak, but that could have not caused the explosion. They basically have ruled out illegal mining or zama-zamas. And it seems as though the Department of Labour has been brought in to further its investigations when it comes to what happened here. There seems to be an issue with 3 particular manholes, some explosion linked to Telkom. The Premier was trying to explain to us that there was a similar explosion in Yeovil some time back where it was also Telkom related with 3 manholes or manholes as well. And I had asked the Premier, I said, but please explain this further. I'm not understanding what you mean by how did the manhole cause the explosion? What exactly sparked this explosion? The Department of Labour official investigator was brought up to explain, and he refused to speak to the media. He refused to tell us what is going on because he says this is still under investigation. So it's still very confusing. And the Premier saying we should respect this investigation as it's still ongoing before we come up to any conclusion as to what truly happened. But I do understand that one professor has spoken to eNCA earlier on, indicating that it cannot be illegal mining that could have possibly caused this explosion. I mean, you started your show, Sally, with that video of the CCTV footage. It literally looks like something out of a movie, where cars were literally flung up in the air. What caused this? We have absolutely no idea. Why this specific manhole was opened up, we still don't know. I think everybody is scrambling to figure out what's going on and whether or not this area is still secure, or if there's going to be a secondary impact. Let's listen to what this one professor had to say about really eliminating illegal mining being the cause of what happened yesterday.
The mining in Johannesburg commenced obviously in 1886, but the mining actually started close to where the M2 motorway is now. And the mines went down, the rocks containing the gold dip at an angle, and they dip towards the south. So they progressively mined further and further towards the south. So the bulk of the mining activity was actually south of the M2 motorway. In that area around Bree Street, there was no mining because the mines were actually quite far away from there in those days anyway. It's a good few city blocks. So it's very unlikely that there's any kind of mining activity in the near vicinity of Bree Street. So I think it looks like it's an underground explosion in a cavity, and it looks like the cavity must have extended along Bree Street, underneath Bree Street. So that could be a stormwater drain, or it could be one of those tunnels that are used to supply electricity to the buildings, or it could be a sewage line, large sewage pipe. So it's gas that's accumulated in there, and something caused it to ignite, and we see the result. But it's very much confined to the street. And the fact that the explosion lifted huge slabs of tar suggests that the pipe was relatively shallow.
Very interesting there, mining expert Professor Terence McCarthy. And Heidi, thank you so much for bringing us the latest on what's happening in Bree Street. We are seeing that razor wire that it's expected is going to cordon off those areas so people cannot access the damaged areas. But let's continue.